Yeah, go ahead.
So welcome everyone to the second workshop of ComNet. So yeah, let's start. So the first topic we'll cover today is bandwidth. So we must have heard about it. It's quite a popular topic nowadays, right? Regarding 5G, etc. The topic bandwidth came frequently. So in case of in computing, it actually what does bandwidth refer to? It refers to the maximum rate of data transfer that that occurs in the process, right? In computing. But in signals and systems, it actually refers to the difference between the highest and the lowest frequencies present involved in the signal. So so in that way, bandwidth in signals, while we're talking about signals and systems, it's different from the bandwidth which you talk about while you refer to the internet connection or whatever. So before going into before diving into that topic, first we must learn about the Fourier transform and Fourier series and the modulation to learn about the proper utilization of bandwidth and such. But first, we'll talk about the Fourier series, right? So suppose we have a periodic signal of time t, time period t. So, the most simple example I can say is sine t, right? It has a time period of 2 pi. So then for each periodic signal, we can represent it as a sum of sines and cosines. So this is basically the Fourier series. What Fourier series is? It is used. Fourier series is the representation of a periodic signal as a sum of its sines and cosines. So the basic form of a Fourier series can be shown in the slides, right? Xt is equal to a naught plus sum for n equal to 1 to infinity, a n cos n omega naught t plus b n sin n omega naught t. So these are the where sin. So this is the Fourier series representation for a periodic signal. And omega naught, we can say it is 2 pi by t, where capital T is the time period, or we can say omega naught is 2 pi f. So moving on. So before that, we can talk about some important signals or functions which would be quite relevant to you. First is the sinc function, sinc of t, which is sine 2 pi t by sine 2 pi t divided by 2 pi t. These are just basic signals. There's nothing more to it, but these will be quite used quite frequently. So you may learn about them. So this is the representation. In the diagram, it is shown as sine pi t. It will have a similar form for sine 2 pi t also. So this is the sinc function. Next we come to the delta function. Uh, Delta function has an infinite value at n equal to 0 and it is 0 at all other values of t. So this is delta function on the left. Next we come to the unit step function, which has a value of 1 for all for all t greater than 0, and otherwise it is 0, like the function shown on the right. Next we come to the unit sample function. It is which is similar to the delta function, but it is for a discrete type, you can say, where it is 1 at n equal to 0 and 0 elsewhere, like the first graph on the leftmost on the top left unit sample function. Next is the unit step function for discrete time. un, where the value is 1 for n greater than equal to 0, and otherwise it is 0. It is similar to the unit step function for continuous time. It is just the discrete time. It is just the form for discrete time. Uh, it is the function shown on the right on this slide, as you can see. So these are just simple functions, nothing more to it. So moving on. So as we learned in the form of the Fourier series of a periodic function has the form shown below, shown in the equation, right? Xt is equal to a naught plus an cos n omega naught t plus bn sin n omega naught t, where n goes from 1 to infinity. So what do these coefficients a naught, a1, a2, an, b naught, b1, what do they represent? Uh, so we can these coefficients can be calculated by the following integrations shown below. The formula a naught is equal to 1 by t, integral of xt dt from minus t by 2 to t by 2, or between or any period. So it can be go from 0 to t also. It will be the same. Similarly for an, an goes from 2 by t integral of xt cos n omega naught t from minus t by 2 to t by 2, or the integral during a time period t. Similarly for bn, bn is equal to 2 by t integral of minus t by 2 to t by 2 xt sin n omega naught t dt. You integrate over a period. So, but this form is not that useful to us, so we'll try to simplify this form. And here's an example regarding that. Find the Fourier series for the sawtooth wave defined on the interval minus pi to pi and having period 2 pi, right? So the sawtooth wave, as you can see, I have shown it here, this figure. It sawtooth wave for the range minus pi to pi, right? So as you can see the graph, the dark blue line, straight line goes. So you can say it will be minus x. Right, the sawtooth wave for that range. It to be x. F of x is equal to x, or x is equal to x. So for the coefficients, so first we'll calculate the coefficients, right? So first a naught, what will be a naught? 1 by t integral of integral of xt dt from minus t by 2 to t by 2. What do we see here? The sawtooth function is actually an odd function, right? You can say it is symmetric, and x of minus t is equal to minus x of t, right? For this function, so it is an odd function. So any integral in this range will be equal to 0, right? Because if we'll divide it 1 by t integral of 0 minus t by 2 to 0 plus 0 to t by t xt dt, both will have both will be equal in magnitude and with opposite signs, so it will be 0. Similarly for an, cos n omega naught t is an even function, right? Because cos of minus x is equal to cos of x, so it is an even function. But here the sawtooth wave function, which is equal to x, it is an odd function, right? Suppose we have a function f of x is equal to x, so f of minus x is equal to minus x, which is equal to minus of f of x, so it is an odd function. So odd into even will be an odd function again. So if we're integrating this function over the period, again we'll get 0. Hence, for the coefficients a naught, a1, a2, all an will be equal to 0. Now for the coefficient of bn, we'll get the value 1 by 2 pi, 2 by 2 pi actually. So both the 2's cancel out since the time period is t equal to 2 pi. Hence 2 by 2 pi is equal to 1 by pi, right? So you integrate it over the time period f of x sin nx dx, which is equal to 1 by pi x sin x dx integrated over the time period minus pi to pi. And using integral by parts. You know this integral by parts, right? You have done this part. You get bn is equal to 2 by n minus 1 raised to the power n plus 1. So the final Fourier series representation for this for x will be is equal to sigma n equal goes from 1 to infinity 2 by n minus 1 raised to the power n plus 1 sin nx. So this is the Fourier series representation for the periodic function x defined on minus pi to pi, which is the sawtooth wave. So it will be like a wave, right? Sawtooth wave. It go on minus pi. At minus pi, it has a value of minus pi. As it goes to pi, pi it has a value of pi. After that, again it restarts its value from minus pi to pi. That's the value. Now, what is the significance of why is and as the n tends to infinity, right? So here you see the graph. The pink line, as you can see, it represents summation up to n equal to 5, while the blue curved line, it represents the summation for n equal to 10. So as you can see, as the summation increases, we get closer to the original signal, right? So for n equal to 10, you can see the series Fourier series representation is quite closer compared to n equal to 5. So that's just the way of represent, showing you that as n tends to infinity, you will get the original function. Now, so we have learned how the function can be represented as the sum of sines and cosines. Now you have learned this during GE, right? A cos x plus b sin x can be represented as r cos x plus phi, where r is equal to a square plus root over a square plus b square, cos phi is equal to a of a by root over a square plus b square, sin phi is equal to minus of b by root over a square plus b square. So we can instead of writing representing the Fourier transform as a sum of sines and cosines, so we can simply represent this as a cosine function, sum of cosines. So that will be the simplification which is being done in this part. So x cube can now be represented as sigma Rn cos n omega naught t plus phi n, where n goes from 0 to infinity. So now we have simplified the Fourier series in a way you can say. So what is the physical signification of this? So this cosine series now for a periodic signal xt, we can represent it as a sum of cosines which have a frequency and different phases and frequencies, right? Where the frequency is n omega naught and the phase phi n. So the frequency component here is used to describe a single cosine term. Suppose the n frequency component, it is used to represent the term Rn cos n omega naught t, where the frequency component is n omega naught. So we can say that all these sine and cosine waveforms, they only have a single wave frequency component inside them, right? And because n omega naught, for the nth component, there is only single frequency which is being involved. So now if we plot the coefficient Rn with respect to each frequency n omega naught, we'll get the amplitude response. Similarly, if we plot the phase with the frequency n omega naught, we'll get the phase response. So basically, it tells us that the signal xt can be represented as a sum of cosines which have a frequency which is a multiple of the original angular frequency, right? Omega naught. So next, again, we know that you have learned about Euler's formula, right? For cos e raised to the power j theta is equal to cos theta plus j sin theta.
So in case, so e raised to the power minus j theta will be equal to cos theta minus j sin theta. So adding those two terms, we'll get cos theta is equal to e raised to the power j theta plus e raised to the power minus j theta by 2. So here, if we simply substitute that cos theta with t e raised to the power j n omega naught t plus j phi n. So that term can be represented now in the powers of e in exponential powers. So xt can be now be represented as say summation of dn e raised to the power j n omega naught t, where n goes from minus infinity to infinity, and each term dn can be represented as the integral shown below x t raised to the power minus j omega naught t integrated over a period divided by the time period. So why we are basically doing this? So we have first we derived the in the Fourier series we have shown the periodic signal in terms of summation of sines and cosines. After that, we have transformed it into a summation of cosines. Now we are transformed it into summation of exponential powers, right? So why we are doing it? Now this form has only one coefficient, right? So there is no separate coefficient for different frequencies. For sine and omega naught, there is an. For sine cos b and omega naught t, there was bn. So there's no such case here, right? So phase and frequency, they're combined now into a single variable. So and we can simply express them in times of exponential j omega naught t instead of sine and cosine. So that's the simplification which has been done. So moving on, Fourier transform. Now we have simply talked about periodic signals, right? So what about aperiodic signals? So what can we do to know about the frequency components which are present in it? So one thing right? An aperiodic signal can be said to have an infinite time period, right? T tends to infinity, capital T. So in the original Fourier series, we have seen that each frequency component was a multiple of original angular frequency, right? It was in terms of n omega naught, where omega naught was 2 pi by t. So for a periodic signal, the frequency components were a multiple of the original angular frequency. But in this case, in case of an aperiodic signal, it can be any arbitrary frequency. It need not because there is no time period, right? So it can be any arbitrary frequency. Any real frequency value can be present. So we need to take a Fourier transform for that to find out which frequency components are present in this. So what is transform? Transform is actually a function which is mapping between two functions, right? Suppose we can say that xt is mapped to 2xt. Suppose xt has a value of x squared. So we are transforming this function to suppose 2xt. So it is the value of xt is mapping to 2xt. It is mapping from x squared to 2x squared. So that is simply a mapping. There's no complication. Suppose we have Fourier transform of a signal xt is capital XF. So we can say that xt is mapping to XF. So in this second statement, as you can see, some transforms have special meanings. The Fourier transform maps our xt to a complex function xf, where xf is any real frequency, right? So we are mapping the original signal xt to any real frequency values. So that is basically the transform. So significance of xf. So similarly, the coefficients in the exponential series told us about the amplitude of the frequency component which is present in the signal. So here the amplitude and phase of the frequency component having frequency f will be given to us by xf, which is the transform of xt. So that's basically what is being told. So formula. So if we suppose we treat xf as function analogous to dn, right? So what is this xf? As I have mentioned before, xf the amplitude and it gives us the amplitude and phase of the frequency component having xf, having frequency f. So similarly to the Fourier series where in which we are representing it by dn, representing it in the form shown below, dn e raised to the power j and omega naught t, where dn will tell us about the amplitude and phase of the frequency component present in the signal. So similarly here, xf will tell us about the amplitude and phase of the frequency component f present in the signal. So that will be basically the summation of xf e raised to the power j ft. But however, this is not a periodic signal, right? So we cannot use summation. Hence, we'll integrate it over the whole range. So hence we can instead of summation here, we will integrate it from minus infinity to infinity. So xf e raised to the power j 2 pi ft df. So the original function xc can be represented as the integration of all required frequencies. Similarly, for xf, we can show it as an integral of the original signal. Moving on. So one example, Fourier transform of xt e raised to the power minus at ut. So we have shown ut to be the step function, right? So ut has a value of 1 for t greater than equal to 0, and it is 0 elsewhere. So x of w, where w is 2 pi f, right? It's not an issue. So it will be an integral from minus infinity to infinity xt e raised to the power minus j omega t dt. Now what is xt? Xt it is e raised to the power minus at ut. Now xt will only be will be 0 if t is less than 0, right? Because ut has a value equal to 0 for t less than 0. Hence the will only have a so we only need to integrate it from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus at j omega naught t dt. So you know the integral of this exponential, which will be divided exponential divided by the power. So in the end, we'll get the value 1 divided by a plus j omega naught. So this will be the Fourier transform of the signal xt at frequency omega. Moving on. So we have learned about the Fourier series, the Fourier transform. Now let's move on to modulation. So yeah, so modulation. What is modulation? Modulation is the basically the process of converting a signal into a form which can be easily transmitted or or can be transmitted with the least errors, the most efficient manner. So we cannot transmit a signal directly. This, as we have mentioned in the first workshop, the size of the receiving antenna must at least be with lambda by 4 of the receiving of the transmitted signal. So suppose the voice signals of 20,000 hertz, it has a wavelength of around 15 kilometers, right? So for that purpose, we'll need a antenna which is equal to 15 by 4, which is equal to 3.75 kilometer. So if you're transmitting a direct if you are transmitting an audio signal directly, so we'll need such a large antenna. So that is not physically possible to manufacture, and nor is it feasible. So that is one of the difficulties. And the second difficulty is that the environment is full of other noise and other external factors, so which can affect the transmitted signal. Hence, the signal needs to be modulated before it is transmitted. So how do we do it? So suppose we have a message signal MT, which is the signal which you need to transmit. We can embed it inside a high frequency sinusoidal wave. Generally, it is embedded inside a high frequency sinusoidal wave known as the carrier signal CT, where CT is equal to AC cos 2 pi f CT. This is the carrier signal. We'll embed the message signal into this carrier signal so that it can be easily transmitted. So how will we embed it? We can vary the amplitude of the or the frequency or the phase of the carrier signal with respect to the message signal. So this gives us three basic modes of modulation: AM, PM, and FM. Where AM is amplitude modulation, we change the amplitude of the carrier signal. PM is phase modulation, we change the phase of the uh, carrier signal, and FM is frequency modulation, we change the frequency of the carrier signal. So amplitude modulation. Suppose we see that the amplitude of the carrier signal is AT, right? We can change it with respect to the message signal in the form where AT is equal to AC 1 plus KAMT. So we can see that with the variation in the message signal, the amplitude of the carrier signal will also change. So that is basically amplitude modulation. We are varying the amplitude of the carrier signal with respect to the message signal. Now, so we'll finally the signal which will be transmitted will be ST, which is equal to AT cos 2 pi FCT, which will be equal to AC 1 plus KMT cos 2 pi FCT. So this term 1 plus KMT, K is chosen such that 1 plus KMT is always greater than or equal to 0. Right. So that is basically amplitude modulation. So here we are showing you in a picture. So the first first signal on the top left part is the signal which you need to transmit, which is the message signal. So this is the sawtooth signal which I was talking about basically. And the signal which is in the bottom left, that is a carrier signal, high frequency carrier wave. So on amplitude modulation, on embedding the message signal into the carrier signal, basically we'll get a output like this. So as you can see, the amplitude of the carrier signal is final signal is varying with respect to the message signal. So at 0, which is it has the lowest amplitude, as it goes to 1, it has its amplitude is the highest, and then it decreases again and it increases again. So you can see the amplitude of the carrier signal is being changed with respect to the message signal. Hence, this is amplitude modulation. We are changing the amplitude of the carrier signal with respect to the message signal. Next, overmodulation. So as I have told you, 1 plus KMT, that part must be greater than 0, right? Greater than 0. Why is that? Suppose here we have shown three representations for U1 modulation index mu is equal, which is equal to Ka maximum value of the message signal. So Ka MT. So for U is equal to 0.5, we can see that the amplitude of the transmitted wave it has a amplitude always greater than 0. For U is equal to 1, the transmitted signal has an amplitude 0 at some point. And when the modulation index mu is greater than equal to 1, suppose 1.5, you can see that the signal has crossover, you can see. So it will be difficult to extract the original signal, right? Suppose when modulation index is greater than 1. So for that reason, we keep the modulation index greater than 1, or else overmodulation occurs, as in the case where nu is greater than 1.5. Moving on, the phase and frequency modulation. In the first amplitude modulation, we change the amplitude of the carrier signal. In phase modulation, we'll change the phase of the carrier signal. S of PMT is equal to AC cos 2 phi FCT plus KPMT, where so you can see that the part KPMT is represents the phase of the signal carrier signal. So basically, with the variation in the message signal, the phase of the carrier signal will also get changed. In frequency modulation, SFMT, it will be AC cos 2 pi FCT plus 2 pi F KF integral 0 to T MT dt. So we are also again changing the frequency with respect to the message signal over time. So that is basically the frequency and phase modulation. Next, digital modulation. So basically most of the data which transmission takes place in the form of digital signals, right? And digital signals have messages are made of zeros and ones. So how is modulation done on this part? Suppose similarly to the amplitude modulation, phase modulation, and frequency modulation, we have ASK, PSK, and FSK. ASK stands for amplitude shift keying, PSK is for phase shift keying, and FSK for frequency shift keying. So what are they? So in amplitude shift keying, we have a carrier wave CT, AC cos 2 pi CT, similar to the amplitude modulation case. So we'll in this case we'll simply vary the amplitude of the carrier wave according to the value of the bit which is present in the message. Suppose the message has 1, so we'll change the amplitude. We'll transmit 5 CT, which is so we'll increase the amplitude of the carrier signal 5 times or 4 times or whatever. And suppose suppose it is 0, so we'll transmit only maybe CT or 2 CT. So we can see that the amplitude which is of the carrier wave being transmitted depends on the value of the bit, right? If it is 0, we are transmitting a higher we were transmitting 5 CT, and for lower we are transmitting CT or any other values. So that's basically amplitude shift keying. So we are so the carrier signal changes its amplitude based on the bit. Similarly, for frequency shift keying, we will change the frequency of the signal. So as you can see in the carrier wave signal, when the bit is 1, the frequency is quite high, right? As you can see on the rightmost image. And when the bit goes to 0, the frequency drastically decreases. Similarly, when it again becomes 1, the frequency becomes high again, and for 0 it becomes low again, and so on. So that is basically frequency shift keying. We are embedding the value of the bit into the frequency. We can extract that value at the receiver's end from the frequency. Similarly, in phase shift keying, we can transmit for 2 phases of the carrier signal. Suppose at 1 we are transmitting AC cos 2 pi FCT, and for 0 we are transmitting AC cos 2 pi FCT plus pi by 2. So in that case, so similarly here, as from 0 to 1, the bit transmitted is 1, right? So we are transmitting the carrier wave as shown below. As soon as we reach 1, as you can see, there is a phase change of pi by 2, right? So this is because of the bit change. So we are going from 1 to 0. So there is a phase shift of the pi by 2. Hence, hence the signal carrier signal which is being transmitted will have a additional phase of pi by 2. Again again when the bit changes from 0 to 1 at 2, there is a phase shift of pi by 2, and so on. This is basically phase shift keying. Next, so the amplitude modulation, a practical example is the TV channels. So moving on to source coding, this part will be covered by Harin.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So we will learn MATLAB right now, and this source code part will be covered in the next workshop, right? So let me share my MATLAB window. Uh, can you see my window of MATLAB? Hello.
Yes, visible.
Okay. So when you first open the MATLAB, you will see the window like when you open Python. But this is live editor, which is similar to a Jupyter notebook. So here basically the box you are seeing, we write code on it, and we can run this code blocks step by step, and we can understand how this specific segment of code works. So this is more convenient to explain to explain and learn MATLAB. So we will go through this live editor, right? So let's see how we can use MATLAB for communication systems and all. So we will learn basics of MATLAB right now, and we will proceed as we will keep learning. Okay. So so to display on screen, we use DISP function, and we can put argument as we can insert string as an argument, any other variable name, whatever. So whatever we insert in argument, we will see the output here. So DISP of hello string, we will see the output hello on the screen. So the output is shown below the code box. Here hello is the output, right? So moving on. MATLAB can be used as a calculator. So just like Python, we can use MATLAB as a calculator. So if you do 2 into 3 and press enter, you will see the output answer equal to 6. So here answer is a variable which gets automatically updated whenever you enter a numerical expression. The answer of numerical expression is automatically updated in this variable answer ans. So yeah, and whenever you put a semicolon at the end of numerical expression, the output is suppressed. Like if you do 4 plus 5 and then apply semicolon and then enter the command, you won't see any output, but the answer variable is updated to 9. So if you want to see the variable value, you just have to write the name of the variable and press enter. So if you write answer and press enter, you will see answer equal to 9. So answer is automatically updated to 9 because we executed the last command already, right? We can define any variable of our choice, any variable name of our choice. Like here, we are defining a variable named a, and we are assigning value of 9 to this variable. So if you press enter after writing this command, you will see a equal to 9. Here, we don't have to worry about the type of variable. Like a can have any value. Like if we do a equal to hello string, then a will be assigned as string of hello. So we don't have to worry about variable type, just like Python. Moving on. Now we will see how we can define different type of variable. Like how can we assign a row vector? So if we do a equal to square bracket 1 2 3, then our row vector of 1 to 3 is assigned to A variable. So A is a matrix of 1 cross 3, so it's a row vector having value 1 to 3. And we can assign a column vector by putting a semicolon after each value. So here A equal to in square bracket 1 semicolon 2 semicolon 3. This assigns a column vector of 1 to 3. So A is a matrix of 3 cross 1 dimension. Now we can similarly we can define a matrix by using this syntax: A equal to 1 space 2 then semicolon. So after semicolon a new row is started. So 1 space 2 then semicolon means another row is started, then 3 and then 4. So this A is assigned with a matrix of 2 cross 2 dimension having 1, 2 and 3 and 4 as value. Now element-wise arithmetics can be done using this operator for multiplication, dot and then multiplication sign. And element-wise arithmetics for division can be also done using dot and then division sign. So if we do A dot then multiplication sign and then 3, then each element of matrix A is multiplied by 3. So you can see here that A had values 1, 2, 3 and 4, and here A has values 3, 6, 9 and 12. So each value is multiplied by 3. Moving on. So we can easily find the inverse of any matrix using function inv in bracket A. So this is the inverse of A matrix A, right? We can have transpose of a matrix by just adding a dash after the variable name of the matrix. Like A dash gives us transpose of A matrix. So 1, 3, 2, 4 is transpose of A matrix, right? Okay, moving on. We can define a row vector from values 0 to 10 using this syntax: v equal to in square bracket 0 colon 10. So v has values from 0 to 10 and each value is incremented by 1 here because we haven't put any gap. Like just see this example: v equal to 0 colon 2 colon 10. So here we have added 2 in between 0 and 10. So v will have value from 0 to 10, but after each value the values will be incremented by 2. So we will have values 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. So you can understand how this works, right? Okay, moving on. So we can make a vector from another vector. So here we have created a new vector named v2 from v just by multiplying with 2. So v2 has value 0, 4, 8, 12, 16 and 20. So v from here is multiplied with 2 and we get v2. So if v is a row vector or a column vector, 2 into v does the same thing if we would have done v dot into equal to v dot multiplication sign and 2. So we saw this, right? We saw this
Yeah, your voice is not coming.
There's some network issues on his end. He'll be joining. Just 1 minute. He'll be joining.
Looks like he has lost his internet connection. Just a moment, guys. He'll be back.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're
Hello.
audible, but your screen is not visible.
Okay, I'm presenting now. So there was an electricity cut, so I'm using mobile data now. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Hari.
Okay. So it should be network quality. So I'm using mobile data now actually. Let me retry. Is my screen visible now?
No.
Hello? Okay.
Maybe Madhur, you can present the screen.
And there's some issues with yeah, the file which I received. So yep, it's visible now.
Yeah, you're fine now.
So screen is visible now.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So yeah, so we can define another vector v2 from vector v by just doing 2 into v. So v2 has values 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 12, 20 accordingly. So easy, we can define another vector from a vector easily by just this expression, right? Now moving on. So now define some so like for function fn equal to so we will now try to fn equal to 7. So for that we will first define time t. So using this expression 0 colon 0.01 colon 2 into pi. So this assigns this assigns a row vector starting from 0 until 2 pi and having values as 0, then 0.01, then 0.02 till 2 pi, right? We studied this. Okay, so t has values from 0 to 2 pi now. Now, if we define a variable named fn function as sine, then fn will have values of sine t. This is very similar to this expression. v2 equal to 2 into v. Similarly, we have fn equal to sine t. T is also a row vector here. So we have fn, a row vector which has value of sine of t. So fn is also a row vector. Now we can plot this function by applying command plot of t comma fn. So we can see the output here. Yeah. So this is a sine t, right? So from 0 to 2 pi. So we can see the signal is we can see the plot here, right? Okay, moving on. Now, how we will run if-else statement? So this is a very simple syntax, right? So we will do if, then there will be a condition. Condition will be true or false. Here we have simply written true. So this condition is true. So the output should be if condition is true, because if statement has command display of if condition is true. And similarly, here in the second case, we have condition 1 equal to 2. So this condition is false, right? So the statement in else, the else statement will be executed, right? So the output is if condition is false. So this is very simple, right? So moving on. So this is a simple for loop. So for I equal to 1 colon 4. So this of I will run for I equal to 1 to 4. So we get this output 1, then 2, then 2, 3, and then 4. Now next. So this is while loop. Okay. So this is code to print all the digits of a number variable. This is num is a variable. And we are printing all the digits of num from left side. So while num, so this condition will be true while num number is greater than 0. So we are displaying mode of num comma 10. So this extracts the last digit from num, and now we are deleting the last digit by doing num by 10. Here in MATLAB, num by 10 will be 516.4. So we have to add floor function here. So by doing floor, we reject the values after point. So now num is 516 only. So this loop will keep on executing until number is greater than 0, and we get all the digits as output 4, 6, 1, and then 5. Now moving on. Okay, so how can we define identity matrix? So for that we use EYE function I of 3. So A1 is assigned identity matrix of order 3 cross 3. So we can see the output here. A1 is 3 cross 3 matrix with 3 cross 3 matrix of identity matrix order, right? Now zeros of 3 comma 6 makes a matrix of order 3 cross 6 having values 0. And similarly, using ones function, ones of 2 comma 5, we define a matrix of 2 cross 5 dimension having all the values as 1. Okay. Now moving on. So here we are assigning magic of 5 to A. So magic of 5 is a magic matrix, magic square matrix. So what is magic here? So all the sum of rows and columns is same here. So we use this magic of 5 just to quickly declare a matrix. So in short, A is a matrix of 5 cross 5 order here. Now how can we print a row, just a row from whole matrix? So for that we use this syntax, A of 3 comma colon. So this syntax prints third column. So MATLAB has indexing from one based indexing. So third column will be exactly third column, not fourth column. So this is different from C++. Like in C++, we have zero based index. So here the third column will be printed, which is 4, 6, 13, 20, and 22. Right. I hope you can see my screen properly, right? Hello.
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes, Bhaiya.
Okay, good. Now we how
This language Python?
sorry.
I mean, what is this language?
This is MATLAB. This is different than Python, but it is similar to Python.
Okay.
We use another language, like MATLAB has its own language. So we are using that language. So we have to learn the syntax of MATLAB to use it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the way we printed third row, we can similarly print second column by using this index. A of colon comma 2. So this prints second column. Okay. Now moving on. Here we defined now
Bhaiya, your voice is again not coming.
hello, am I audible?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Sorry for the interruption. So electricity is back, so it's good. So I will. So I hope there will be no further interruptions. So here we defined a row vector of values 1, 4, 3, 2, and if we do A of 3 comma indices, we will have values of matrix A, but the values will be 3. Just a minute. Yeah, this is third row, right? 4, 6, 13, 20, and 22. Now, if we define D as 3 comma indices, the element of first, fourth, third, and second element from third row will be printed. So indices as value 1. So A of 3 comma 1. What is A of 3 comma 1? A of 3 comma 1 is 4. So 4 is printed. Now second element of indices is 4. So A of 3 comma 4 will be printed. So what is A of 3 comma 4? A of 3 comma 4 is 20. So 20 is printed here. Now A of 3 comma 3 will be printed as third element. what is a of 3 comma 3? A of 3 comma 3 is 13. So 13 is printed here. So this is how this command works, right? So it's easy. If we will send this editor, file editor, then you will be then you can easily learn what this syntax is doing. Okay. Now moving on. If we define D as A of colon comma indices, then all the columns of values of indices will be printed. So first column will be printed. So indices have values 1, 4, 3, 2, right? So first column will be printed, then fourth column will be printed, then third column will be printed, and then second column will be printed. So this is first column, this is fourth column. Let's see. Like this is fourth column, right? So this is fourth column, right? So first column, this is first column, this is fourth column, this is third column, and this is second column. So this is like simple syntax applications. You will easily understand when you will read this file. Okay. So now moving on. Okay. So here A is a matrix. We are defining a matrix whose values are 1 to 9, and it is a square matrix. Now A of 1 will be 1, A of 2 will be 4. So this is how MATLAB works. This is A of 1, this is A of 2, this is A of 3, then 2 is A of 4, A of 5 is 5, A of 6 is 8. So and here we are defining indices as 1, 4, 2, 3, 8, 9. So if we print A of indices, then A of 1 will be printed. A of 1 is 1. A of 4 will be printed. A of 4 is 2 here, because A of 1, A of 2, A of 3, and then A of 4. A of 4 is 2. So 2 is printed here. Okay. So similarly, other elements are printed. So you will be if you will read this file, you will easily understand this. So let's move on. How can we print all the elements? So we can do A of colon only, and it will print all the elements from A of 1 till A of 9. A of 1 is 1, then A of 2 is 4, because A of 1 is 1, A of 2 is 4, A of 3 is 7, A of 4 is 2. So all the elements are printed here: 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, and similarly. Okay. So now let's move on. Now here we will do some signal processing. Okay. So as a first step, we are defining dt. What is dt here? dt is a sampling period having value 0.01. Now we are defining time t from -5 to 5, having steps, having sampling period of dt. So you know what this syntax means, right? Because we saw this syntax in last editor, right? So t has values from -5 to 5 with interval of dt. So the values of t are, so t is a row vector, and values of t are -5, then -5 plus 0.01, then -5 plus 0.02, and till 5 minus 0.01. So the last value of t row vector of t will be 4.99. So it t has first value -5, then last value is 4.99. So t is a row vector starting from -5 to 4.99. Okay. Now we will plot a sine wave. in last editor we printed sine signal. So similarly, we are printing sine 2 pi ft here. Here we are taking frequency as 1 pi. We can write the value of pi by using pi. So pi, this MATLAB will understand that this is pi. So this is 3.14 and so on. So MATLAB has syntax, and pi is like MATLAB will understand this is pi, right? So 2 pi ft. So now x is a function which is sine of 2 pi ft. So if we plot t x, if we enter this command, we will see this signal as output. So this is sine 2 pi ft. So what is t here? T is from -5 to 4.99. So we can see here that t is going from -5 to 4.99. Okay. So here sine 2 pi ft is printed. So this is very easy. Okay, so now moving on. Similarly, we are printing a cosine wave here. We are printing cos of 2 pi ft, but frequency is 0.5 here. Okay, so plotting this function, we will get output like this. So this is a cos function, right? Cos of 2 pi ft. Here t is from same -5 to 4.99. Okay, now moving on. You saw unit step function in first half of this workshop. Like Madhujya explained what is unit step function, right? So we are plotting unit step function here. So we can define u as t greater than equal to 0. So u will be greater than u will be 1 when t is greater than equal to 0, right? So plotting this function u will give us output like this. So this function is 0 for negative values, and it is 1 for 0 and greater than or equal to 0 values. To see this plot clearly, we can apply this command stem of t comma u. So we will have output like this. So we can easily see that the value is 0 for negative values of t, and value is 1 for greater than or equal to 0. T is greater than or equal to 0, then values are 1. Okay. Now this is a ramp function. So how can we define ramp function? So t dot into equal to u. So u is 1 for u is 1 for t greater than or equal to 0, right? So ramp function will be like this. You can imagine, because u is 1 when t is greater than or equal to 0, and so this ramp function is t when t is greater than or equal to 0, and for negative values of t it is 0. So this is the ramp function, right? Now moving on. This is delta function. So what is delta function? Delta function has value equal to 1 when t is 0, right? So let me, this has some syntax error, just a minute. We have to write plot t comma delta. Just a minute. Where, yes, here it is. And yeah, so I didn't executed t command, and after executing t command, I executed this float command. So we got the graph as we expected, right? So this is the delta function, right? Now moving on, square wave. How can we print a square wave? So we can just consider the sine of sine 2 pi ft function, and if sine 2 pi ft is greater than 0, then we will take it as 1. So sine of sine 2 pi ft will give us output 1 if sine 2 pi ft is greater than 0, and if sine 2 pi ft is less than 0, then SQ will have -1 value. So this is a square wave. So plotting this SQ will give this as output square wave. Right. Now moving on. By doing STEM, we can clearly see the values of this function. So we can see it is 1 for some time, it is 0 for some time. So this is a square wave, right? I hope you are understanding this these commands and all, right? Now moving on. Now we will deal digital communication, right? So if message to be sent is binary stream, here M is message to be sent, and values of M are 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 1. So this is a bit stream. This is the message we want to send. But we communicate in electrical signal, right? So we have to convert this into a electrical pulse. So we want a pulse like this. So this is a pulse like this: 0, then 1, then 0, then 1, 0 0 1 1 0 1. So this is bit stream represented in electrical signal. Okay, so we want to represent uh, bit stream in such an electrical wave. So how can we do this? So we will define the pulse duration. So this is the duration, pulse duration. For each bit, the pulse duration, the time to represent each bit is pulse duration, right? So here pulse duration is 0.1. You can see that. So we are defining pulse duration TA as 0.1. This is pulse duration. Now message is this, right? So if we do STEM of M, we can see the message now. So this is message 0 1 0 1, right? Now we want this electrical signal, right? So we will define a sampling period. Here sampling period is 0.001. Now we defined T, time, which starts from dt. So this T time is a row vector which starts from dt. It starts from dt, so 0.001. T starts from 0.001 and goes till TA into size of m comma 2. So size of m comma 2 gives us the number of values in it. So size of m comma 2 will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 10. Size of m comma 2 gives us number of columns in m. So number of columns in m are 10, right? So this will be 10. Size of m comma 2, this value will be 10. So 10 into TA, we multiplied with pulse duration. So in short, we got this time, which goes from 0 to 1, and Yeah, so this value is 1 and dt is 0.001, right? So we define t, and then we are doing scaling of t by ta. We are doing scaling of t by ta and inserting values of this into m. If you think logically, then this s will be the electrical signal we want. So plotting this s function will give us this electrical signal we want to represent. So we have represented our bit stream into an electrical pulse. Okay. Now moving on. STM of t, s. So we can see clearly that our bit stream is represented into an electrical pulse. So 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 1. So we have represented our bit stream into an electrical pulse. Now we want to reconstruct our message from this electrical pulse signal. Okay, so how can we do that? For that we have to sample for each pulse duration. So we will sample for this pulse, we will sample for this pulse, then this. So we have to sample this electrical pulse for each pulse duration. So what we will do, we will define sampling times as Ta by 2. So Ta is the pulse duration, so Ta by 2 is 0.05. So we will sample here, then here, then here. So this is Ta by 2 colon Ta, and then it goes till end of the time. So this is Ta into size of n comma 2. As I explained earlier, sampling time gives us 0.05, then 0.15, then 0.25. This is a row vector, and this gives us sampling times. So sampling this electrical pulse at sampling times, we will get our original message. So we are doing the same thing here. We are getting m reconstructed using this formula. If you will think, then you will understand that this formula gives m. This formula samples electrical pulse for each sampling time. Okay, because sampling times by dt will give the index for which we have to find s, value of s. So sampling times by dt will give us some large value, and putting that large value into s, our function electrical pulse, will give us the value at each pulse duration. So m reconstructed, if we plot the m reconstructed, we will get our original signal back. So this was the original signal, right? 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 1 0. Okay. So that's it for now. From next workshop, we will see modulation and demodulation in MATLAB. So we will simulate all process of modulation and demodulation. So this editor, we will see this editor in next workshop. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask, and we will share these files with you. We will upload on MS Teams. You will be able to go through this and check by yourself that these things are working right. Okay. So I am closing my presentation now. Any doubts you can ask.
भैया मैटलैब का कोई ऑनलाइन वर्जन भी अवेलेबल है क्या? क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा है सॉफ्टवेयर, मतलब 7.6 GB का हो।
हाँ, बड़ा तो है। देखो ऑनलाइन है पर वो पेड होता है, मतलब फ्री नहीं है, ठीक है। और जो ओरिजिनल है वो भी फ्री नहीं है, बट हमने लिंक दिया था, उससे तुम फ्री से डाउनलोड कर सकते हो। मैंने जो अपना जो मैटलैब है ना, वो भी उसी में से डाउनलोड किया है। तो मतलब मोस्ट प्रोबेबली वो डाउनलोड हो जाता है, पर कभी कभी नहीं होता, तो वो क्रैक वाला डालना पड़ेगा। एक्चुअली इंस्टीट्यूट से हम डाल सकते हैं मेटलैब, पर हम अभी मतलब कॉलेज में नहीं है ना, तो वो यूज नहीं कर सकते हैं। मतलब हमारे पास सेटअप है, पर हम यूज नहीं कर सकते। लिनक्स मैटलैब भी है, लिनक्स मैटलैब भी हम डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं इंस्टीट्यूट आईडी से, पर हम अभी नहीं है ना इंस्टीट्यूट में, तो हम डाउनलोड नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि हमको सर्वर चाहिए इंस्टीट्यूट का। तो मतलब क्रैक वाला डालना पड़ेगा तुम लोगों को अभी के लिए। और मैंने जो लिंक भेजी है वो भी ट्राई कर लो तुम, उससे हो जाएगा। तुम्हारा विंडोज है या लिनक्स है, क्या है?
विंडोज ही है भाई।
हाँ, तो मैंने जो लिंक भेजा था,
हाँ वो
शायद
विंडोज
टीम्स पे
है।
होगा ही। हाँ, तो उससे
क्या
हो जाएगा
PDF
डाउनलोड।
से?
वो
हाँ भाई।
बड़ा है वैसे, 14-15 जीबी का है।
हाँ भैया, क्योंकि ये मैटलैब भी ऐसे बड़ा है, फिर वेरीलॉग जो मतलब आई चिप में बताया था वो भी काफी बड़ा है, तो ऐसे स्पेस बहुत
हाँ,
ज्यादा है।
तो मतलब उतना स्पेस तो होगा ना, जैसे वो आई चिप वाला है वो 25 जीबी का होगा, ये 14 जीबी का है, तो मतलब उतना तो स्पेस रखना चाहिए था ना लैपटॉप में, है क्या?
Not space issue. Maybe he has issue of network.
हाँ
We
ओके।
भैया,
will
टाइम काफी लग जाता है।
do the alternatives. मतलब समझ रहे हैं कि नेटवर्क में डेटा में डाउनलोड करना थोड़ा
अच्छा।
मुश्किल है।
हाँ हाँ।
We will work on the alternatives. जैसे iChip का भी they gave you an alternative of Mentor Graphics. I'm not able to recall the name. If you're not able to download, you're free to use that one as well. And similarly, we'll try any alternative possible. You need not.
ओके भैया।
So, are we done? Recording stop करें?
हाँ यस, एंड हम लोग ऑल्टरनेटिव वो इसी चैनल लिंक जहाँ पे रिसोर्सेस है उसी में डाल देंगे तुम लोगों को, तो अगर कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव मिलता है तो तुम लोग कर सकते हो शायद। वही एक तो ऑक्टेव है, लेकिन उसका मतलब हाँ सिंटैक्स भी सेम है, लेकिन हम लोगों ने ये मतलब मैटलैब